On July 1st, 2025, the following YouTube comment was written.
The fact you counted how many couch gags there are makes me realise that right now, as I type this comment, you are sat in a dingy room somewhere doing something like cataloguing who has Nelson said haw-haw to the most.
Mrs. Krabappel, I'd love to stay, but this uniform carries certain responsibilities.
Hey, look! Sergeant Dork!
Enjoy your test.
What? Do you all know who I am? Do you know what we do here? Of course I'm doing the haha video now. This is one of the most prolific Simpsons catchphrases of all time. So let's do it. Let's find out who was the biggest object of Nelson's scorn. But that raises an interesting problem. How does one find all the Nelson ha-has for this important endeavor? None of these are plot relevant after all. They're merely a quick reactive catchphrase for random jokes. Sometimes it's literally the only thing Nelson does in the story. What are we gonna do? Rewatch all 790 episodes? I love you guys, but even I have my limits. So here's the quick and dirty method for finding haha jokes. Number 1, check the Simpsons wikis. Oh look, someone compiled a list. Oh no, it only goes up to season 31. Number 2, yay, someone on the Simpsons archive documented these. Oh no, it doesn't agree with the wiki list, and it only goes up to season 12. Number 3, watch the YouTube compilation. Wow, the wiki missed a bunch of these. Number 4, search the episode transcripts for the word ha ha. Try to remember who is speaking during all these scenes. Number 5, search for ha ha, and Nelson laughs. I really wish there was a consistent way to notate this. Also, wow, the wiki just doesn't care about those middle seasons, huh? Number 6, compile a list of all the episodes with Nelson in them and manually find them in the ones I hadn't checked yet, just in case. This part was super tedious, but I did find 5 or 6 variations that weren't documented anywhere. Number 7, spreadsheets. I am certain that a few ha-has slipped through the cracks. Googling anything in 2025 is a baffling ordeal, and Nelson has been in way too many episodes. But I think I got pretty dang close, and greatly improved upon the data already out there. For this project, I only counted the times where Nelson does his classic ha-ha as we know it, or when other characters directly parodied him. I did not include his ha-ha-ha from Bart the General, nor the ha-ha-ha from the War of the Simpsons. Those were like the proto-ha-ha jokes. Contrary to what I said in the Nelson Simpsons histories, the very first ha-ha was actually in 3 Men in a Comic Book, not The Otto Show. I didn't know what I was doing back then. I also didn't count examples where someone else simply quotes or references the phrases without doing the impression. So Nelson prompting Kevin to say ha-ha, and his mom telling him that he should stop saying it don't count. I also counted them multiple times if said repeatedly, like in 22 short films about Springfield or the Simpsons movie. Basically, we're just looking for all the times someone did the ha-ha and find out who Nelson said it to. Throughout the first 36 seasons of The Simpsons, I found a total of 289 ha-has. 250 of them were said by Nelson himself, and 39 being other characters. Of the 791 total Simpsons episodes, there is a ha-ha joke in 201 of them, or about 25%. I think that's incredibly impressive, and shows how prolific this catchphrase truly is. That every 4 episodes we get one of these. Here's the seasonal breakdown. Nothing too shocking here. Seems like the catchphrase really took hold in season 4 and became a staple for quite some time. We do see it fall off in the later years, but not as dramatically as the couch gags and opening credits. I acknowledge this might be because these later seasons aren't documented as well in terms of listing character appearances, so either I missed several later ones, or the writers got tired of the catchphrase humor. I suspect it actually did fall off. The episode with the most ha-has is season 34's When Nelson Met Lisa, with 6 credited to Nelson and 5 more by Lisa. This one is kinda unfair, as there is a scene where he is literally teaching her how to say it and they go back and forth. Otherwise, it's the Simpsons movie, where he points and laughs 6 times, with his mom adding 3 more. There are 4 different couch gags that feature this catchphrase, one from season 9 that reran on 3 occasions, and then later ones where he assembles a Simpsons model and blows it up, pranks them with a green screen, and flattens a Simpsons penny on a railroad track. Season 28's 22 for 30 opens with a Nelson haha during the opening clouds, making it the only episode where this is the first dialogue you hear. Although if you don't count the opening sequence, that honor goes to Season 17's Millhouse of Sand and Fog, kicking off Act 1. Season 22's Lona Lisa is the only one with a haha joke over the credits. Sorry. Now, the first non-Nelson haha is kind of debatable. Some people think that it's Homer saying it in the first clip show, but I don't think they were referencing anything here. I think it's the newspaper kid from Homer's Barbershop Quartet. Pretty sure this is Nancy Cartwright, and sounds so similar it feels like an homage. But if you don't count that, it's Nelson Jr. in Lisa's Wedding, and then his bird in Who Shot Mr. Burns. Shout out to Cypress Hill, by the way. One of my favorite ambiguous ones is Funzo saying it in this commercial, and how it implies that the toy companies stole his catchphrase as part of their market research. Occasionally, we'll get this line from Nelson variants, one-offs from various settings or eras. His 2 kids from the womb from Future-Drama, a demon Nelson from A Treehouse of Horror, Irish Nelson who says har har, Canadian Nelson that says hoo hoo, and a French Nelson that says ha ha. Many of the non-Nelson homages don't even involve him, like Reverend Lovejoy and Mr. Largo using it on Bart, or the Devil saying it to Homer. But the best ones are where he gets a taste of his own medicine. Principal Skinner attacks him with his lethal tuna breath, Mrs. Krabappel taunts him about his role, Lisa tells him his catchphrase lost power from overuse, Kevin shows him that the student has become the master, Millhouse mocks him after his horrifying death, and then there's that time when Martin curb stomped him. Nelson himself has done many variants of his signature phrase. As early as season 5, they were doing Nelson phone calls and out-of-body experiences. We've seen it written down, in text messages, or on newspaper headlines. Even the intent of Nelson's ha-has got played with, not just the usual joyful mocking. We've gotten confused haha, embarrassed haha, psychedelic haha, battle cry haha, letting down his guard haha, and hyperventilate haha. Starting to think this might be an involuntary tick. The later seasons love doing puns and wordplay. We've gotten seesaw, hee-haw, ba-ha, thaw-thaw, gobble-gobble, ha-hockey, and chunk-chunk. These were, by the way, the most obnoxious examples to track down. Now that you've got an idea of the wonderfully diverse world of Nelson haha jokes, let's get back to the original question. Who did he direct all these toward? Who is the most mocked person in Springfield? Like, there were so many characters who he laughed at once, and generally left alone. People like Ralph Wiggum, Superintendent Chalmers, Hans Moleman, Willie, Krusty, and Grandpa all got off relatively easy. Also Sherry, but not Terry. There are really 10 people who stand out among the crowd. So let's do a quick top 10 list. It's like that Treehouse of Death video, but with more scorn. Number 10, Mrs. Krabappel. Not that surprised by this placement. Krabappel and Nelson both serve Bart storylines, so it's relatively rare for these two to go after each other. But given their sheer number of shared scenes, it was inevitable that ha turned to ha ha. Number 9, Ned Flanders. This one is mostly carried by 2 Christmas episodes, 'Tis the 15th Season and Oh Come On All Ye Faithful, when he gets them twice. However, this does contain the saddest and most heartfelt ha-ha of all time when mourning the death of Mrs. Krabappel. Number 8. The Simpson family as a whole. I decided to group these together instead of divvying them up individually. These are mostly couch gags, 3 reruns of this one, and the 3 modern examples. There's a couple more out there too. Also, maybe I should have included him laughing at their house in season 4. Number 7. Marge. Toward the end of the SD era, there were a bunch of Marge plots that either involved Nelson or he'd randomly comment on them. Outside their spotlight, you don't tend to think of these two as a comedy duo. Just her proximity to Homer greatly affected her ranking, as he laughs at both of their misfortune on several occasions. For number 6 and number 5, we have a tie. And it's appropriate they're together because it's Martin and Milhouse. I am genuinely shocked that they aren't higher up, because they basically exist to be dumped on, and that's 90% of their relationship with Nelson. These examples are the most hardcore bullying on this list, which is likely why the show has allowed both of them to turn the tables on him. I would definitely give Milhouse the tiebreaker here, because 3 of Martin's are just Nelson singing them at him to warm up his voice. Aside from that season 33 Martin spotlight, there's much more substance behind the Milhouse-Nelson rivalry. Number 4. Principal Skinner. Well, of course, this guy lives to be clowned on by Bart, and Nelson is right there to laugh at him. Although most of their examples are Nelson doing it independently, going out of his way to get Skinner's goat. Maybe he's competitive with Bart, I don't know. Definitely the most iconic example is from Grade School Confidential, where Skinner confesses to being a virgin and Nelson breaks the stunned silence. Alright, now we're getting into the heavy hitters. Number 3, Lisa. Of all the rankings, I am most surprised by this one. How dare Nelson mock his sweet Babu so many times? This number is juiced by that when Nelson met Lisa scene, which isn't even mocking. And in this play, he's directing these 3 at Lisa's character, not Lisa herself. But, setting those aside, we got plenty of traditional examples. There are many Lisa stories where she takes an L along the way, especially ones at school, so naturally he's gonna get his verbal jabs in. In my opinion, Lisa provides the best reactions to these jokes, where she'll argue with him or give him a withering stare. Number 2, Homer. Just narrowly beating out Lisa, but I would argue that these are the more typical ha-has you'd expect. Ironically, Nelson is one of Homer's worst character foils, as their 2 personalities have very little chemistry. But Homer is the king of trying stupid stuff and repeatedly failing, so Nelson is a good vehicle for reactions and comedy buttons. Homer being up this far has less to do with Nelson and is more a side effect of main character syndrome. Number 1, of course, is Bart. I think this number 1 was going to be easy to guess. Sure, going into this, you could be like, I'm betting it's going to be Bart and Homer. Yeah, but in what ratio? And holy god, there were so many Bart burns throughout history. After breaking out the duos and trios, there were about 260 ha-has. And 67 of them were sent Bart's way. Dang. I suppose it's appropriate that it ended up like this, as Nelson was literally created to antagonize him. So it's nice to see that even as they became more friendly, that Nelson's original purpose is being fulfilled. You know, maybe this is why Bart is so image conscious and so easily peer pressured, that he always has someone waiting, always ready to pounce on his mistakes. But let's not go overboard with it. The Nelson ha-ha is not deep. It's not meant to shape characterization. It's just a catchphrase. Nancy Cartwright's delivery is very funny and was perfect for punctuating a funny scene. That's it. It's probable that Nelson did gain prominence because of this catchphrase, but I'd imagine without it, he'd still be around. He might have ended up more in the Jimbo, Dolph, and Kearney tier. But there's no deeper meaning to Nelson saying, haha, I did this project out of sheer curiosity. Now, did I get baited into doing 12 hours of research by a random YouTube comment? Yes I did. But you have to understand, I love The Simpsons and I'm good at pointless research. Doing this analysis is really stupid and doesn't need to exist by any practical measure. But give me a break. I make videos for people to watch while eating lunch. Let's not get pretentious about what this platform is. By the way, how is your lunch break going today, dear viewer? At the same time, Nelson haha jokes are still a part of the Simpsons writer's craft. I know it's stupid, but it's true. Consider all the different ways that they kept this catchphrase fresh, all the techniques and possible spins on the concept. It's such a simple joke, but the writers did put in an effort to come up with all these. Somehow, keeping this catchphrase going for 30 years. How does one do that? We take a lot of this little stuff for granted, and as silly as it is, I think they are worth looking at. Also, I just think researching haha jokes for 12 hours is funny, and this is a service I am happy to provide. Every great haha joke requires an object to be laughed at, and it's all in good fun. As a wise man once said, "He who ha-has last, ha-has best." Alright, this video is done, you dinguses. Smell you later.